Sports commentary from 10 Sports. It's sports commentary with attitude, so it's Appitude. All right, so that out of the way, we'll be talking about a lot of issues in sports over the coming weeks, which have everyone's attention. I know you've got opinions out there. We want to know what they are. We're going to pick apart some of the issues. First and foremost, we want to know what you think. We want to hear from you. So with that said, stay tuned and get in those comments. All right, today's discussion is a bit of a catch-up. This has been going on for a year and a half, something I wanted to talk about. Haven't really had the format to do it. We're going to talk about LIV golf and, of course, its assault on the PGA Tour. For starters, if you're one of the people who believe nobody should have anything to do with Saudi Arabia, taking money from them, and you are just staunchly against anything going on in that country, and maybe more importantly, the fact that it's funded from a country that has horrible human rights history and present, and all that is well documented. You don't need me to say that, but nonetheless, if you're one of those people and you want to have that argument with me, that's not my argument. I don't care to speak about that other than to tell you that is a moral, political, personal decision from each person and each golfer, to be quite honest, and anyone dealing with that country, and that's as much as I want to say about it. What I do want to do on that issue is just give you some facts that have already been established. This does appear to be sports washing. What that is simply a country using sports and big money and a lot of publicity, basically a big marketing campaign to help their overall image worldwide as a country. I don't think anybody's arguing that fact. It does appear on the flip side that you need to understand that the PGA Tour is not blameless in this, because there are American companies who do business in Saudi Arabia, and some of those companies advertise on the PGA Tour. So those are facts that have been established. Again, a lot of gray area here. In the sports world, it's important to note that if you want to think about black and white, you're going to get lost pretty quickly because it's gray in a lot of areas. Let's just use the NBA quickly as an example. They have a huge marketing campaign in China. China's human rights record, not good. Again, these facts have been established. So if you really wanted to get into it, you could go to European football and a lot of other sports entities, and basically what I'm trying to say is there's complex interdependence among countries, and yes, I'm dropping international relations on you here, and within governments. And so all that is happening. So it is really difficult to single out one thing, one person. But again, I'm not getting in your way of doing that. If you feel personally about that, again, this is it's a personal, it's an emotional, it's a decision that we each have to make on our own. I want to talk about the sports angle in this. We're talking about the two tours and what they're about, and now they're clearly rivals. And what I like most about it is there's a bunch of smack talk going on between them. Okay, so the LIV Tour is the new tour. You don't probably know that much about. So some basic facts. Founded in 2021, backed by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, worth an estimated $600 billion plus. That's a lot of money. They could offer more money clearly than the PGA Tour. Began offering huge sums to stars to come play on their tour. We'll get to that in a second. The format is something different. The structure is a little different. We'll get to that point in a second as well. They did hold 7 tournaments, a team championship event at the season's end, and those tournaments were held in London, Portland, Oregon, Bedminster, New Jersey, Boston, Chicago, Bangkok, back in Saudi Arabia, and then the season finale was actually in Miami. So that said, everyone's trying to learn and understand why someone would choose that tour over the PGA Tour other than money. Well, money's a big issue, but there are other reasons. So let's have a look at the side-by-side and a basic tournament snapshot. Why would this be more attractive? Well, there's 3 days instead of 4. So if you're a player who plays almost every weekend, just less wear and tear on your body. There's no cut. So regardless of how you play, you're going to get some pay out of your work. On the PGA Tour, as you know, if you don't make the cut, you don't get paid. That's how that works. And while that doesn't affect some of the tour's biggest stars, it would matter deeply to the players in the bottom half of the field. So what have the results been? We're going to ask this question. Well, a lot of the PGA's bigger stars, at least a number of them, are moving towards the LIV Tour. Is it just about money, or is it about the format and the way they like the way things are set up? They have more freedom. It's a really good question, but let's throw some names at you. Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka have taken the money and jumped ship. Lots of Euro stars like the Australian Cameron Smith and Spain's Sergio Garcia. These are household names. Now, so you have to ask yourself, the players, why are they making the decision? Well, let's start with Phil Mickelson first of all. He played 30 years on the tour, made about $100 million. That's a lot of money, but they offered him $200 million in a contract just to play. Doesn't have to do anything in particular, just show up and play 7 events. So he can double his entire life's work earnings just by signing a contract. And that's the way it's gone with all of these big players. So no one should be really surprised about it. What I would tell you is it's up to each individual player what they want to decide to do. And we'll get back to that moral issue, the personal issues. For some, it's a lot of that. It's what do I want to do for my family? Folks, I'm a realist, okay? Everyone listening out there can't really put themselves in the shoes of someone who's being offered $100 million to do your job, $200 million to do your job. What I'm going to say is it's okay if both leagues exist. I think we need to embrace it. And here's why. What matters, I think, to us would be how do the fans feel about the quality of golf being played? We're not playing, okay, but we're watching. So how do the fans feel about it? Is it better or worse to have 2 leagues? Well, once you get past all the moral, political, financial arguments, the bottom line is great competition is brought even higher by a great rivalry. Let's go back to golf's history. Arnold Palmer was better Arnold Palmer when Jack Nicklaus became his rival. After Jack, everybody's like, well, who's going to take down Jack? Then it was Tom Watson. After that, it's the next star. It's Seve Ballesteros. It's who's going to be the next guy. And then with Tiger, it was Phil. And then who's going to challenge? So what we have here is basically the most amazing script. Vince McMahon couldn't have written this script for Monday Night Raw. Okay, we have 2 opposing sides, 2 leagues that just disagree with each other, and the best players on both sides now suddenly don't like and respect each other. That sets up beautifully for the majors and all these rivalries. So why not, as golf fans, after all the litigation, after all the arguments, after everyone gets done pointing fingers, why can't these 2 both coexist in golf and create great rivalries? I frankly can't wait for the Masters because they're welcoming everyone who's qualified. And we got guys throwing teas at each other and they're angry. They're like, this is golf smack talk going on. Why wouldn't we embrace that? Because this sport is only compelling, in my humble opinion, if you're a great fan of golf and love the sport, or if there's great rivalries and compelling storylines. What more can you ask for than 2 competing leagues who really don't like each other? And they have good reason for it. I mean, I don't think I could have come up with such a storyline. Like I said, we would need a pro wrestling scriptwriter to come up with this situation. The purists out there, the people who love golf, are going to say, What about the PGA Tour? What about tradition? What about the honor of how they got everything started? And I would tell you, true, but ultimately it's going to come down to how does each player feel about that? Do they connect with that? Or do they connect with the newer tour with some different rules, some different formats, and a lot of money, frankly, too? I think both can coexist, and I think we can get great rivalries out of it. And I think the golf viewer will benefit if we can get past all the litigation. Frankly, everybody's suing everybody right now, and we don't have enough time in the next 10 or 12 days to even go over all the things that are being litigated at this moment. But once that clears up, if these two leagues exist, I think we're better for it. I'm pretty sure Dennis Miller used to say, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I think I'll say, that's just my opinion. I've been wrong before, but we'll wait and see.